Did you ever wonder who the strongest teen in Jujutsu Kaisen is? What about who's the strongest adult? Or even better, who's the strongest character over the age of 1,000? Today, we're picking the strongest character in each of these age groups, ranging from over 1,000 years old to 1. And let's begin with the youngest characters in the show. As you could have probably guessed, there aren't many strong kids in Jujutsu Kaisen, unless you're counting Gojo as a child, which we're not. There really aren't many. But here's where things get interesting, because we need to talk about cursed spirits. You see, cursed spirits don't age as humans do. They're born from accumulated cursed energy and negative emotions. Mahito is actually a really young cursed spirit, maybe only a few months to a year old when we first meet him, which technically could put him in this category. His idol transfiguration is absolutely terrifying because it lets him reshape souls and bodies at will. This power had Nanami and Yuji completely stunned as they struggled to even damage him properly. However, surprisingly, Mahito is not the strongest kid in the show, because there's another entity in the series whose power easily surpasses most others at a young age, and that's Rika Orimoto. Now I know what you're thinking, Rika died as a child, but the cursed spirit that manifested from her death was born at that moment, making her technically very young as a curse, 6 years old or so to be exact. Rika had power that rivaled special grade curses and could go toe-to-toe with anyone. Her raw, cursed energy output was so massive that she could fuel Yuta's techniques indefinitely. Even Geto, who had thousands of curses at his disposal, recognized her as a threat beyond measure. Her appearance alone was enough to make special grade curses hesitate, and her combat capabilities were off the charts. One category down, and trust me, the next ones are going to get even crazier. Let's continue by choosing the strongest teen in the show. This category is absolutely stacked. Here we obviously have all the students from both Tokyo and Kyoto Jujutsu schools, and some of them are absolute monsters. Hikari Kinji is 18 years old, and this guy is insane. His domain expansion gives him pseudo-immortality when he hits a jackpot, with an automatic reverse curse technique that lets him regenerate from nearly anything. Gojo himself said that Hikari, when he's on a roll, could surpass him in power. Now I don't know if that's completely true, but the fact that Gojo even mentioned it is crazy. Todo is also 18, and his Boogie Woogie technique is one of the most versatile abilities in the series. The guy has an insane battle IQ and physical strength that let him fight special grade curses, and he was instrumental in helping Yuji take down Mahito. We also have other stupidly strong characters like Maki, with her heavenly restriction that puts her on par with, or if not stronger than, Toji Zenin himself, and Nobara, who is just the best girl ever. But someone who should be stronger than all of them is Megumi Fushiguro with his 10 Shadows technique. The potential to summon Mahoraga, the divine general that even Sukuna respected, is absolutely ridiculous. However, Megumi's reluctance to push himself and his tendency to summon Mahoraga as a suicide move hold him back from his true potential. So, is there a character in this age range who has actually achieved their potential and can be called the strongest? Well, there are actually two that stand on top as the honored ones. I'm of course talking about Yuta and Yuji. Ironically, they were both main characters. Yuta is literally the second strongest sorcerer in the modern era after Gojo Satoru. At just 17 years old, he has copied countless curse techniques through Rika, has an immeasurable pool of cursed energy that rivals Gojo's output, and has mastered the reverse curse technique to the point where he can heal others. And then we have Mr. Left Right Goodnight Yuji Itadori, who by the end of the series and the sequel is actually the strongest sorcerer alive. He can use domain expansion, all his brother's curse techniques like blood manipulation. He has reverse curse technique, and even inherited Sukuna's cleave and dismantle. But if we're being completely honest here, Yuta absolutely destroys Yuji by the end of the series, along with everyone else in this category. Yuta soloed Geto's army of curses, fought multiple culling game players in one, and even used Kenjaku's technique to body hop into Gojo's corpse, which shows you the absolute insanity of his capabilities. I don't think there are any doubts about this one. Yuta takes this category easily. I can't wait to show you the strongest 100-year-old or even 1,000-year-old. Let's move on to the 20 to 30 range, where some of the strongest modern sorcerers are. Can you guess who'll win this one? Let's start with mentioning a few adults who might not be strong but are important to Jujutsu society, like Ejichi, who's 27 years old. There are also crazy cool sorcerers like Nanami Kento in this age range. His 7-to-3 ratio technique creates guaranteed weak points, and his tactical mind made him one of the most reliable grade 1 sorcerers. The problem is, he died during Shibuya, so we can't really make him the strongest in this category. Kusakabe Atsuya is 28 years old and is technically the strongest grade 1 sorcerer currently alive. His swordsmanship is refined to perfection, perfection, and his simple domain is so advanced that he can use it without a barrier, which is absolutely insane from a technical standpoint. This guy survived the culling game and multiple encounters with disaster curses through pure skill and a little bit of hiding. Suguru died at 27, but at his peak, his cursed spirit manipulation gave him access to thousands of curses, including special grades. His maximum Uzumaki could fire concentrated cursed energy that could obliterate city blocks. Even though he lost to Gojo, he was still one of only 4 special grade sorcerers in the modern era. At 29, Mei is another interesting case. Her bird strike technique, while seemingly simple, is incredibly lethal when she uses it properly. She can kamikaze her crows directly into a target's weak point, and the impact can damage even special grade curses. Plus, her physical capabilities and battle sense are top tier for a grade 1 sorcerer. But we're really only buying time here because we all know who the strongest sorcerer in this age range, and matter of fact, the strongest character period is Satoru Gojo. And honestly, this shouldn't even be a competition. The man with the 6 eyes and limitless technique is literally in a class of his own. His infinity makes him untouchable. His unlimited void can overload anyone's brain with infinite information in 0.2 seconds. And his raw cursed energy output lets him fire off multiple hollow purples in a single fight. Gojo soloed the disaster curses at the Shibuya station while protecting hundreds of civilians. He beat Toji Fushiguro after unlocking reverse curse technique. He went toe-to-toe with Sukuna in a domain battle and actually won the domain clashes multiple times. This man redefined what it means to be a special grade sorcerer. I have to give this category to Gojo Satoru, the strongest sorcerer of the modern age. The 30 to 40 years range supposedly is the prime years for sorcerers, when experience meets peak physical condition. Yuki Tsukumo, at 30 years old, is a special grade sorcerer whose research into cursed energy nearly broke the entire system. Her Star Rage technique increases her mass to astronomical levels, allowing her to hit with devastating force. She went up against Kenjaku and pushed him to his absolute limits, forcing him to use multiple techniques and strategies just to survive. Her domain expansion wasn't shown, but the fact that she almost killed one of the most dangerous beings in the series speaks volumes, and I really like her curse technique a lot. We also have Yutahime, but she's more of a support-based sorcerer. She's not exactly the fighting type. Now let's talk about the 2 newly awakened sorcerers in Takaba and Higuruma. Fumihiko Takaba is 35, and this guy's curse technique is absolutely insane. His comedian technique literally warps reality based on what he finds funny, and he finds a lot of things funny. If Takaba thinks something is hilarious, it becomes real. He can create constructs, alter physics, and even make himself unkillable as long as he thinks it's funny. Takaba's fight with Kenjaku showcased just how broken this ability is. Higuruma Hiromi is no slouch either. For someone who just awakened his curse technique recently, he's an absolute monster. His domain expansion, Deadly Sentencing, is one of the most broken abilities in the series. It can literally strip away someone's curse technique as punishment, and if the verdict is the death penalty, he gets the Executioner's Sword that can bypass durability and one-shot nearly anyone. This guy went from 0 to being a threat to special grades in just a few weeks of having cursed energy. But you know what? Even with all these strong contenders, Yuki is definitely the strongest special grade here, and her feats against Kenjaku prove it. The woman literally tried to create a black hole as a last resort to take him down. That's absolutely insane. So I'm giving this category to Yuki Tsukumo. In the 40 to 50 range, we actually have a pretty interesting situation, as Principal Yaga at 47 years old is the only one in this age range. Jujutsu Kaisen's story focuses heavily on the new generation and the ancient monsters, with not a lot in between. So by default, he wins it. We're skipping 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 80 to 90, and 90 to 100 ranges, as they don't really have any confirmed characters that we know of in Jujutsu Kaisen's canon. But don't worry, because the next categories are absolutely stacked with monsters. The 70 to 80 range has some solid picks, and when we get to the 100 plus and 1000 plus year old characters, that's where the real insanity begins. You're going to want to stick around for those. In the 70 to 80 age range, we have 2 confirmed characters, and they're both pretty interesting. Yoshinobu Gakuganji, at 76 years old, is the principal of Kyoto Jujutsu High, and despite his age, this old man can still throw down. Gakuganji's curse technique involves his guitar, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. He can create devastating sound-based attacks that can damage even special grade curses. During the Goodwill event, we saw that Gakuganji is still capable in combat despite being in his 70s. He's survived decades in the Jujutsu world, which means he's both skilled and incredibly lucky. But there's another character in this age range who absolutely dominates Gakuganji, and that's Naobito Zenin Zenin at 71 years old. Now, Naobito is dead by the current timeline, killed by Jogo and Dagon during Shibuya, but at his peak, this man was considered the fastest sorcerer alive after Gojo Satoru, of course. Naobito's projection sorcery technique divides 1 second into 24 frames and allows him to trace predetermined movements at incredible speed. He can basically move in stop time as long as he follows the pre-traced path. This made him fast enough to blitz most opponents before they could even react. He was the head of the Zenin clan, one of the big 3 sorcerer families. So for the 70 to 80 age range, Naobito Zenin takes it. Stick until the end of the video, I've got a bonus character I want to tell you about who's actually over 2,000 years old. Now for the characters over the age of 100. We're getting into the territory where things get really interesting. The Death Painting Wombs, Chozo, Kechizu, and Iso are all 150 years old. These guys are half human, half cursed spirit hybrids created by Kenjaku's experiments during the Meiji era. Chozo is by far the strongest of the 3, and his blood manipulation technique is refined to an incredible degree. Chozo can create piercing blood, a high-speed blood projectile that can pierce through reinforced defenses. His supernova creates a massive blood explosion. He can form blood armor for defense and blood wings for mobility. The guy is versatile, tactical, and powerful enough to fight special grade level threats. While Chozo is incredibly strong, he's not quite at the level of the absolute top tiers in this age range. The Heian era sorcerers that Kenjaku brought back for the culling game are also over 100 years old. These are sorcerers from the golden age of Jujutsu, when cursed techniques were at their peak, and the strongest fought each other constantly. Ryu Ishigori, at 420 years old, is an absolute powerhouse. This guy has the highest cursed energy output in the entire culling game aside from Yuta with Rika, and possibly even higher than Yuta's base output. He fires massive beams of pure cursed energy that can obliterate anything in their path. Ryu's whole thing is that he's a glutton for battle. He wants to taste the ultimate dessert, the perfect fight that will satisfy his craving. He fought Yuta, Uro, and Kudorushi in a 4-way battle and held his own against all of them. But then we have Hajime Kashimo at 470 years old, and this is where things get really interesting. Kashimo is known as the God of Lightning, and his base curse technique during the culling game wasn't even his real technique. He was holding back, saving his real technique for a fight with Sukuna. But some fans think he's kind of a fraud. Kashimo's electrical cursed energy manipulation allowed him to mark targets and send guaranteed hit lightning strikes. He completely dominated Hikari in their fight, and only Hikari's jackpot pseudo-immortality kept him in the game. And don't forget Uro Takako, the former captain of the Sun, Moon, and Stars squad. And this woman is an absolute menace. Her sky manipulation technique is one of the most unique and broken abilities in the entire series. Uro can literally treat the sky as a tangible surface. She can grab it, rip it, fold it, and use it as a shield or weapon. Her technique is so versatile that it's almost impossible to fight against without understanding how it works. So who takes the over 100 age range? This is actually really close, but I think Kashimo edges out Ryu and Uro. Plus, he was confident enough to challenge Sukuna, which shows his mentality. Kashimo takes this category, but Ryu and Uro deserve massive respect. Now, you may not think many characters are over 1,000 years old in Jujutsu Kaisen, but there's actually a surprisingly large number of them. Let's start with Tengen at 1,200 plus years old. Tengen has maintained their existence through the star plasma vessel mergers every 500 years. Tengen's barrier technique is the foundation of all barriers in Japan. Every single barrier that protects Jujutsu society, every veil, every domain, all of it is built upon Tengen's technique. Without Tengen, the entire Jujutsu system would collapse. However, Tengen isn't really a fighter. They're more of a support pillar whose importance lies in their barriers and knowledge, not their combat ability. Uraume, at 1,000 plus years old, is Sukuna's loyal chef and subordinate from the Heian era. Uraume's ice formation technique is incredibly powerful, capable of flash freezing entire areas and creating ice constructs. At 1,000 plus years old, Yorozu is another Heian era sorcerer who is obsessed with Sukuna. Her construction technique is one of the most versatile in the series, allowing her to create anything she can imagine as long as she understands its structure. She showed us how good a technique construction is when used effectively, creating a perfect sphere, something that shouldn't exist in nature, and using it to attack Sukuna. But there's still another character, or should I say entity, that would obliterate all of them. Mahoraga, the divine general of the 10 Shadows, is also over 1,000 years old and is the ultimate Shikigami. This thing can adapt to any and all phenomena stamina. Mahoraga's adaptation ability is so broken that it's literally unkillable through conventional means. Even Gojo recognized it as a serious threat. But now we get to the two biggest players in this age range. Kenjaku and Ryomen Sukuna are both over 1,000 years old. Kenjaku has been alive for over 1,000 years, jumping from body to body, collecting cursed techniques, and orchestrating plans that span centuries. And his sheer experience from living 1,000 years makes him nearly impossible to outsmart. But then there's Ryomen Sukuna, the king of curses. Over 1,000 years old, originally a human sorcerer who became so powerful that even after death, his fingers became cursed objects that couldn't be destroyed for a millennium. Sukuna defeated Gojo Satoru, the strongest sorcerer of the modern age. His domain battles with Gojo, and his ability to adapt his strategy mid-fight, all of it showcased why he's called the king of curses. So who takes the 1,000 plus age range? Kenjaku is the mastermind, the planner, the one who's been orchestrating everything from the shadows. But in a straight fight, it has to be Ryomen Sukuna. But wait, before we end this video, there's one more character I need to mention, and this one is going to blow your mind. Dhruv Lakdawala is actually 2,000 plus years old and is the oldest known sorcerer in Jujutsu Kaisen's canon. But Yuta just one-tapped the dude, so he really isn't important.